Hello and welcome to another edition of The Slice. Here on The Slice we talk about everything from ancient alien theory to extraterrestrial visits in the future, past, and current. We also talk about abductions and other interesting items of archaeology and out-of-place artifacts. Make sure you check out Matthew Bauer's site on www.therealmj12eyes-to-the-sky.com, and also check out Clarence Mitchell with his Blog Talk Radio, and Kimberly Wright with her Ancient Aliens Chat every Friday night during the show, before the show and after the show. So make sure you check all that out. And now let's get on with this week's subject on The Slice. Enjoy the show, folks, and make sure you comment and subscribe. Take care now. Hey guys, Bill Peters here. As you can tell, I'm hard at work trying to get ready for my big trip. But here's something I wanted to talk to you guys about. We were talking about the pyramids and how there was mica on the outside, covered with other stones. And it got me to thinking about what electrical process would require such an insulator. And this, I don't know if I get the right angle, there we go. This is a piece of glass with two pieces of screen on either side, heavy metal screen, and what this came out of was an air purifier. And what it does is it shoots ions into the air, basically. Now, it would seem to me, I'm an engineer, so I have a little bit of a handle on this stuff. It would seem to me that we talk about giants, and I just read something in my eye. I just read a medical report. It's actually a scientific release that talks about giganticism and what they did to recreate some gigantic life forms. So, what it boils down to is that the ionosphere was much thicker back pre-Ice Age. And because of that, everything on Earth was bigger. I mean, it was better protected. They've proven now that with higher UV concentrations, in a less humid atmosphere, that things grow small. Wait a minute. I think I got myself a little confused, so let's go back. If your ionosphere is thicker, it makes the underneath, our level, warmer. But it also protects us from a lot of the damaging radiation from the sun. So, their theory is that this condition created a gigantic reaction to everything from dragonflies to humans, hence our giants of our deep dark past. They also figured out that after whatever happened that caused the Ice Age, this last Ice Age anyway, that the UV rays were getting to the Earth easier, and therefore created a shrinking of all the animal life that was left after the big impact, or whatever catastrophe was that caused this great dust cloud to create our solar winter there. So, what I'm going to be looking for as I travel the country this winter is going to be, especially between the Oklahoma, Louisiana, Texas areas. I really want to find areas that have a lot of fossils and petrified items. And I'll tell you why. because I found out, quite by accident, I thought I knew a lot, but I didn't know near what I needed to know, about the formation of rock in our mantle. And a lot of it has to do with, do you realize, I'm skipping around a little bit, but do you realize that when say you got a stone on the side of the road, that in 50 million years, that stone will look like bedrock? All that's on top of the ground now, in 50 million years, will look like basalt. It will be so compressed and so overheated and so pulverized into nothing. It's basically all becomes sand, and then it just crushes itself right into rock. Now, this confused me at first, because I was like, well, some of this rock was molten. Well, yeah, it was. And just when I thought I'd given up on figuring this out, I find out that they had found a piece of worked metal inside a geode. Now, I probably should have checked this out before I started the show, but I always thought geodes were made because it was an air bubble in molten rock, and the crystals of the minerals in there filled the area, or started to fill the area. Now, in this case, I almost think it's a fraud, because you got molten metal. Now you got a piece of metal that survives the molten part without melting, while every other mineral known to man is liquefied. And now these crystals form around it. I have a hard time with that, and I don't know how that's possible. But I do believe that ETs, or definitely ETs, were here millions of years ago, probably 200, 300 million years ago. They would have found it to be quite hospitable. I mean, yeah, there's big dinosaurs everywhere, but I don't think they were a big threat. I don't think they're as big a threat as people assume that they would be. They're not. I mean, they're mostly going to go after bigger prey because they're big animals. They're not going to go after the. I mean, yeah, you got some velociraptors or something that more our size that would come and grab us probably. But and they ran in packs too, or like wolves. Yes, Blue. Just a minute. They didn't know. They don't know exactly what they were like. For all we know, velociraptors could have been talking to each other. They may even become the reptilians. We do know, I do have a friend who contacted me when he found out I was taking this trip out across the country. He gave me a call last night and was talking to me about a double-edged sword that was found partially coming out of the side of the mountain up by his house. So they went up and they chipped it out. They left a bunch of rock on it, and he says that the thing's almost 5 feet long. And while they were chipping it out, one of his neighbors went around one side of the ridge and found a cave. And he told me he would not check out the cave until I got there, because A, he's scared of caves, and B, he doesn't have the equipment, and when I get there I will have the equipment. I'll also have the metal detectors and other stuff to see what else is in those rocks. Now, in the fact that it's in the rock tells you that it's probably 50,000 years, if not more, in age. Sedimentary rock forms rather oddly, so when you see these out-of-place artifacts and different things like that, you got to bear in mind that some sedimentary rock can form in 10 years. It's not real solid. You can break it apart with your hands, but after 10,000 years, it's a done deal, folks. It's totally encased, and it's totally, you know. So some of these out-of-place artifacts, when the only way they can do it is to date the rock using a radiometry, or carbon dating doesn't work that good for that unless you find actual. In the case of the rock out in California that they found with the hammer, or was it Texas? I forget. But, in that case, they were able to date the handle because the handle was organic and had started to go into carbon. Now, I heard another video the other day, because I watch these things constantly to try to figure things out. But I heard the other day somebody said on one of their videos that it had not. And I'm like, well, yes, it has, because I've seen it. So this confuses some people. But the thing is that for everything you do, you're going to have another story that is different. So the best way to handle those things is to go see the damn thing yourself and figure it out on your own. And this is what my whole thing is. That's why I'm putting a lot on the line to go out here on the road and try to solve some of this stuff. And, you know, I figure at 55 years old, frig it. I'm going to be too old to do this stuff later. I'm going to go out and do it now. And I'm going to try to make a mark and a dent in the information, the lack of information that we have. I'm trying to hook up with Jim Vieira right now, and his brother, who do a lot of this research. Trying to get a connection, either sever the connection from giants and ET, or make the connection. I almost think that the giants were here first, and when the Anunnaki came, they tried to get rid of them, and that's why they had, you know, all the different catastrophes and stuff. On the other hand, it also explains why the Anunnaki probably were the ones who warned humans that the floods were coming, and they neglected to tell the giants. So, yeah, that would have helped wipe out a bunch of them. Yeah, and which is surprising, because the Anunnaki were a large species, according to all reports, but they seem to have been reptilian, and they seem to have been, they kept to the shadows a lot. So, anyway, folks, I'm coming up on my time, but I know this week's show was a little different than most of my other ones, but I had some things to say, and I said them, by God. And if I come up with any other new subjects, I'll release it during the week. So have a great day, and take care, folks. Okay, folks, that sums up another edition of The Slice with your host, Bill Peters, contributing to this wonderful episode were several of you in the Ancient Alien Theory group. I'd like to thank you all. And don't forget, check out the real MJ12 eyes-to-the-sky.com. That's right. And Happy Vowels will take you on a journey that you won't soon forget. Don't forget, Kimberly Wright and her every Friday during the Ancient Alien Show. She has her live chat. And Clarence Mitchell at his Blog Talk Radio. Check it out, folks. See you next time on The Slice.